Josh Jacobs didn't hold back this offseason when he named the Green Bay Packers as the team that gave the defending champions their toughest test last year. That's high praise coming from a player who faced off against some of the best squads in the league. But just because the Packers were a major hurdle for the Eagles doesn't mean they're a lock to dominate this year. That's where the debate really starts to heat up. There's a reason why conversations around Green Bay are so animated right now. You've got daily podcasts dedicated entirely to the Packers, hours of breakdown, speculation, and insights, all trying to get to the bottom of whether this team is the real deal or just a playoff tease. Fans aren't just tuning in for scores, they're there for the full breakdown, the strategy, the why behind the what. And honestly, that kind of obsession makes sense. Green Bay is one of those teams that's always under the spotlight. Whether they're rolling or rebuilding, everyone wants to know what's going on in Wisconsin. People are waking up with the Packers as part of their daily routine, listening to recaps, digesting analysis, and trying to figure out where this team is headed. It's about more than football. It's a ritual, a community, and the fans who follow this team closely know it's never as simple as win or lose. There's always something deeper going on. How the front office is planning, how the coaching staff is evolving, and which players are stepping up or falling short. Now, when Jacobs made those comments about the Packers, a lot of heads turned. He wasn't just handing out compliments for the sake of it. He remembered how tough that defense was, how it clamped down when it mattered, and how it made life miserable for a team that usually bulldozes opponents. In those playoff moments, when everything's on the line, Green Bay didn't flinch. Sure, the Rams came in hot during the postseason, and the Commanders had their moment the year before, but none of them managed to do what the Packers did, slow the Eagles down when the season was on the brink. That kind of performance sticks with you. It makes people rethink the narrative. But let's be clear, just because Green Bay played spoiler doesn't mean they're ready to run the table. General manager Brian Gutekunst isn't interested in rewriting the team's entire philosophy just to mirror what the Eagles are doing. When he was asked at the Combine whether they'd adapt their approach to match Phillies, his response was sharp and to the point. This isn't a reactionary team. They've been in these kinds of conversations before. And he's right. The league shifts constantly. Rivals emerge and fade. Injuries blow up game plans. Just when you think you know who you have to beat to get to the Super Bowl, the deck reshuffles. So the Packers' focus isn't about building a roster specifically to beat one team like the Eagles or the Lions or the Rams. It's about building a team that can beat any of them. No, that's a big difference. It's about flexibility, adaptability, creating a team that doesn't need the perfect matchup to win, but can overcome whoever lines up across from him. And that's the story of this offseason. Green Bay trying to create something sustainable, something resilient, a team that can weather the injuries, the setbacks, the weird bounces, and still find a way to win. Look back at how the Eagles took down the Packers in the playoffs. It wasn't some fluke. It was a calculated game plan. But the Vikings, for instance, beat Green Bay twice in the regular season with a totally different style. Then you got the Lions, who went aggressive in their second game against the Vikings, leaning into blitzes and man coverage. Every team has its own identity, its own strengths and weaknesses. You can't base your whole season on countering just one approach, especially not when half the league is banged up by December and the lineup you're facing barely resembles what you saw in September. And speaking of banged up, that was the case with plenty of Green Bay's opponents late in the year. So yeah, you could analyze what happened against the Lions or the Bears, but with so many missing pieces on the field, how much can you really take from those games? The Packers showed they could still win when it mattered, and that's what counts. They leaned on depth, on role players stepping in, and that's exactly what the front office wanted. That's been the theme since draft season. Build an offense that can hurt you in different ways. But more than that, evolve the defense to match. This defense isn't just trying to survive anymore. It's trying to dictate. You've got guys who can line up outside in the slot, up close to the line, wherever you need them. Versatility is the name of the game now. You've got to be able to cover someone like Savon Williams in space, go toe-to-toe with Marshawn Lloyd, who, by the way, was one of the top guys in the nation at breaking tackles a couple of years ago. That's what Josh Jacobs brought to the table last season, and now defenses have to match that kind of power and agility. And let's say the Packers go big at safety. Now you've got to be ready to stop the run, handle guys like Anthony Belton, and Aaron Banks. They might not always be on the field together, but the message is clear. Green Bay wants to be able to shift gears on the fly, handle any style of offense. It's not just about getting past divisional rivals. It's about stacking up with whoever you might meet in January or even February. That could mean the Chiefs, the Bills, or the Ravens. All totally different styles. All elite. You hear criticism about changing the offense to suit one quarterback. And yeah, sometimes that can be a risk. But if the guy delivers his best season in years, maybe it's worth it. And when the backup plan doesn't pan out, when the guy you thought would step up just can't, then what? You better be ready to pivot. And it looks like the Packers are. Their scouting department is locked in. They've been aggressive about raiding other teams' practice squads, finding value where others overlook it. That's how you stay competitive. Not everyone pulls that off. And that's where coaching comes in. You can bring in new talent all you want, but if your staff can't develop it, if they don't know how to scheme with it, it doesn't matter. Green Bay's success, like any contender, comes down to alignment. Coaches, scouts, front office, all rowing in the same direction. That's what separates the good from the great. It's not about beating the Eagles. It's not about topping the Rams or the Vikings. It's about being good enough to beat any of them. Green Bay has shown flashes of that over the past 2 years. They've beaten tough teams. The big question now is whether they can do it consistently, especially when the lights are brightest. That's what everyone wants to know. Are they built for January football? Can they get over that final hump? Because it's not just about talent. It's about matchups. It's about staying healthy. It's about whether your offensive line can hold up against a four-man rush or if your quarterback can make plays when the pocket collapses. That's where the margins are. And in that game against the Eagles, maybe the Packers figured it out. A little too late. They leaned too heavily on their usual coverage shell and gave up too much underneath. But now they've got Savon Williams, a guy who can be a release valve underneath. That's a big difference. There's also Marshawn Lloyd, who can break through those soft zone looks, and tight end Tucker Kraft might be ready to take on more responsibility this year. And then there's the health of key players like Giad Campbell or Nico Dean. Can they be the anchors this defense needs? Philly lost some serious pieces. Darius Slay is gone. CJ Gardner-Johnson too. That matters. Suddenly, this matchup doesn't look so lopsided. Would I pick the Packers to win a rematch tomorrow? Maybe not. But I think twice about betting against them. The gap is closing. And pound for pound, play for play, Green Bay has a real shot. That first meeting, that crazy slip and slide game in Brazil, they should have taken that one. Missed opportunities, but there's hope. The coverage was solid in the playoffs. That pass rush might not have been elite, but it was effective. And if Jair Alexander's back, even better, but let's assume he's not. Even then, Green Bay's in a much better spot than they were last year. Their offensive line has more depth. They've got options. They're not relying on just 5 guys to hold the line anymore. If someone goes down, the next man up isn't a liability. It's someone who can actually hold their own. That makes a huge difference, especially against a team like Philly, which used to throw waves of pass rushers at you. That's harder to do now with Milton Williams gone and Brandon Graham retired. The Eagles' defensive identity is changing. That matters. And here's the thing. This isn't just talk. The Packers are actually putting these ideas into action. Their personnel decisions reflect a shift in philosophy. They're not clinging to what worked 5 years ago. They're evolving. They're building a roster that can absorb injuries, adjust on the fly, and still find ways to win. That's the kind of team you don't want to see in the playoffs. Looking ahead, the conversation shifts to how this team handles specific matchups. Not in theory, but in the trenches in a split second. Moments where games are won or lost. That's where the optimism around Green Bay really takes shape. They've got a better handle on man coverage than they did last December. That's a big deal, especially against teams that rely on isolating defenders. They've added pieces that are specifically designed to neutralize those threats. Players who might not have been stars last season, but are primed to step into those roles now. The offensive line, once a weak point in crucial games, is now far more stable. The goal wasn't just to patch holes, but to lay a foundation that holds up deep into winter. Those frustrating losses to division rivals still sting, especially the one where they looked like they had it in the bag, up late in the fourth quarter until a questionable call took a touchdown off the board. That kind of moment changes everything. But even in those defeats, there were signs of progress. The defense clamped down when it had to, wide receivers showed growth, and a young quarterback delivered under pressure. The margin between success and heartbreak was razor thin. That's why, despite being down 1-3 in recent head-to-heads, there's a belief that the tide could turn. They came close in games that were essentially coin flips. Just a better bounce, one less drop, and the story might have been entirely different. Then there's the wild card matchup, the one where a young quarterback on the other side played lights out for 4 quarters, delivering what might have been the best performance of his career. He was magical, slipping through tackles, making throws that didn't seem possible, and yet Green Bay still had a shot at the end. One stop was all they needed. They didn't get it, but that's football. Sometimes a rookie rises to the moment in ways nobody expects. That game reminded everyone that you can't rely solely on planning. You need execution. You need players who can step up in chaos. That's where Green Bay's improvements show the most. They've got a deeper bench, better contingency plans, and a front office that has proven it can identify the right guys, even if they don't fit the usual mold. That brings us back to players like Savon Williams. Early on, he wasn't even on the radar for most fans or analysts. The assumption was that Green Bay wouldn't take a swing on someone like him. He didn't fit the prototype, but here he is, and he's proving that those assumptions were wrong. It's a lesson in humility for anyone who thinks they got the draft figured out. Sometimes the team sees something the rest of us don't. That's why you watch the tape, do the homework, and stay open to surprise, because football, more than anything, is a game of adjustments. Those who adapt survive. And Green Bay? They're doing more than surviving. They're building something real, something dangerous, something that's ready to shock the league when the moment comes. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Green Bay Packers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Green Bay, Wisconsin. In a move that has sent ripples through the NFL community, Green Bay Packers running back Josh Jacobs has officially confirmed his departure from the team. The announcement, which came earlier this week, puts an end to Jacobs' brief but highly anticipated stint with the Packers, who had signed a former Raiders star with hopes of revitalizing their ground game. Jacobs, a Pro Bowler and one of the league's most productive running backs in recent seasons, joined the Packers in the offseason after 4 standout years with the Las Vegas Raiders. His arrival was met with optimism from fans and analysts alike, who believed his dynamic running style and proven track record would be a perfect fit in Green Bay's evolving offensive scheme. However, the union was short-lived. In a statement shared through his representatives, Jacobs expressed gratitude to the organization and its supporters, but cited personal and professional reasons behind his decision to part ways. I appreciate the opportunity the Packers gave me. It's a great organization with a rich history, and I have nothing but respect for the team, my teammates, and the fans, he said. While he didn't go into detail, sources close to the player suggest a combination of family considerations and a desire for a different team environment were key factors in his decision. Jacobs' exit leaves a significant hole in the Packers' backfield. The team had envisioned a potent 1-2 punch between him and A.J. Dillon, especially after the departure of longtime lead back Aaron Jones. Now, with Jacobs gone, Green Bay faces renewed uncertainty at the running back position, a concern as they look to build around young quarterback Jordan Love. Fans took to social media to express disappointment, though many also voiced support for Jacobs' decision, acknowledging the challenges athletes face balancing their careers and personal lives. As for Jacobs' next destination, speculation is already swirling, with several teams reportedly interested in acquiring the veteran back. The Packers, meanwhile, will need to pivot quickly. Training camp looms, and questions about the offense's identity continue to grow. Jacobs' departure marks an unexpected twist in what was supposed to be a new chapter, both for the player and the franchise. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Green Bay Packers, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.